Two-Ton Nerds. As always, my name is Max James, and this is Let's Watch True Blood, a series retrospective in which I'll be watching and discussing each and every episode. This is episode 7, entitled House of Burning Love, and let's just get right into it. It starts out with a bang, quite literally, with Sookie getting her virginity taken by Bill, and that's, can't really describe any more than a sex scene on True Blood. Then it goes into the really cool title sequence, and then back to Bill and Sookie in the bathtub. Bill reveals some really cool stuff about the vampire mythos. Most of the myths that were about the vampires, like how they can't stand in front of a mirror or they will be invisible, which is totally false, because most of them were created by the vampires themselves to show people that they were human, and that's so cool. And then Sookie kind of reveals that Uncle Bartlett, who we last seen at Adele's funeral, their grandmother, Jason and Sookie's grandmother, he was a pedophile, basically. When we see like this little flashback, he's like, "Come sit on my lap while she's doing math," and he's just kind of stroking her hair, and his inner dialogue is quite disturbing. And so she reveals that she told her grandmother, and she ran Uncle Bartlett off, and they were never seen again until the funeral. And Bill didn't take too kindly to that. So, and that's where it really ends right there. Then it cuts to Merlot's, and it's quite happening. It's quite busy night. You got Sookie trying to hide the bite from Bill, and with this little scarf, and she reveals to Arlene what occurred the day before. And then you got Sam having to deal with Tara the day of that afternoon, and then you got, Tara doesn't show up to work because she's off to doing her story arc, which is she finally gives in to the exorcism. She actually pays for the exorcism for her mother, and the exorcism scene, it was actually kind of weird. You don't quite know if it was true or if it was fake. I mean, it was like, oh, what's going on? And Tara's being very skeptic about it, and she's just making cracks through this entire thing. And I can't remember her name, who performed the exorcism, she's like, "Tara, you have a demon as well." And she's like, "Yeah, right, whatever." She kind of blows it off, and then she starts naming things like, "Can't hold a job, can't hold a man, and can't do this and can't do that." And it's like, it's describing her to the T. And it's like, oh, well, and she's like, so it's like, oh, maybe she does in a metaphorically way, not an actual demon. And then you got back to Merlot's. You got some stuff going to go down. You got the three rednecks who had the little confrontation with Lafayette. They come in, and Lafayette deals with them in a quite hilarious fashion by heating up their spoon over the stove and for their soup. And so when he kind of eats it, it burns his tongue. It's quite hilarious. Then you got Sam and Arlene kind of just crapping all over Sookie for what she did with Bill and allowing him to bite him. And then she kind of blows up in front of everyone, basically. He's like, "Yeah, I did that and did this," and then that's when real trouble rolls in. The three vampires we meet in episode 1 and 2, they kind of come in. They start raising some major trouble. Terry, who we will get to know very much later on, he kind of goes on and tries to attack one of them. Doesn't happen very well. Then Sam, he breaks in really cool, epic fashion. He breaks a cue stick over his knee. He's like, "I'm going to take one of you with me," and it didn't happen very well. And that's when Bill shows up. Bill actually was out doing his own thing. He was out draining and feeding off Uncle Bartlett. He kills Uncle Bartlett, and basically dumps him in the water for the gators. And he's like, oh, he can sense Sookie's in trouble, so he hurries over to Merlot's, and then they all leave together because they did it on purpose to get Bill's attention, and they want him to join their nest. So they kind of go off, and they also reveal that they have property purchased within the town just up the road. And then the rednecks reveal, like, I know where that's at. And so Bill and Sookie's throughout the rest of the time trying to get a hold of Bill, and it's not working. And then we kind of go off, and Jason's doing his own thing. He's still wanting to find V. He kind of barges it on Lafayette. He tries to forcefully take V for himself, and Lafayette basically shows him who's boss and throws him out. And so he gets the bright idea to go to the Fantasia, the vampire bar, which we've seen already. So we meet Pam and Eric again, and Pam recognizes the last name, and it's pretty cool. And she glamours Jason to reveal why he's really there, and it's really funny. He's like, all right, you can go on in, but good luck getting out. So he's in there. He's kind of looking around. You can tell he has a hidden agenda. And so he's drinking beer after beer, and he's like, yeah, I want something stronger. It's like, the vampire bartender's like, yeah, it's like, what do you want? And it's like, we got 100 proof whiskey and all, whatever. And he's like, no, I want something stronger. And which catches the ear of someone else in the bar. And that's when we meet a new character for the show. Her name is Amy. She's kind of, I hate describing her this way, but she kind of has a hippie outlook to her, and that's the best way. She's carrying this big bag, and Jason's basically screaming at the top of his lungs, basically. He's like, I want V, and she's like, no. It's like, I got it. Let's just get out of here while we still can. And so they go back to his place, and they partake in the V juice, and this time we actually see a new way of taking the V juice. Up until this point, it's always been blood or blood droplets, but this time they snort it. They kind of mix it with aspirin and they snort it, and it's a totally different experience for the both of them. And it's a pretty cool sequence. And Amy's actually played by Lizzie Kaplan, who, if you watch Master of Sex or a few other shows on, you'll recognize her when you see her. And then the episode ends with Sam Merlot running through the woods naked, and Terry and Andy are out fishing, and he's like, yep, I've done that. It's a really funny moment. Then it kind of goes down from there. It ends on a bad note, and because the three rednecks, they just pretty much firebomb the house, killing the vampires within inside. And at the end of the episode, it reveals there's 4 coffins. And I was like, ooh, it's the 3 vampires and plus Bill. So I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? And so that's really where it ends right there. So I love this episode. I thought it was really good, mainly because what I really liked about it is that we meet a new character, as well as a few of the vampire myths get debunked definitively, and it's starting to build up to something big. And we also see the dog a few times in this episode as well. So it's everything's starting to come together very slowly, but it's getting there. That's it. My name is Max James, and I'm going to go geek out.